welcome back to another episode of Art of the Base Sessions. Today we are joined by our good friends Irie and Dan. How's it going, guys?
Aloha.
Good. Aloha. Good morning.
Good morning. It was actually probably the perfect day to do it because what was it, a couple of days ago? It was super windy or it was raining or whatever.
Yeah.
And today it's
cold.
Cold. Yeah. Yeah. And today was like probably the best day to do it, and in the morning, no less. So yeah, very
Sunday
good.
morning. It's all like, you're just getting up. Like I like to do. We actually do our morning rituals of like coffee and what is it?
Coffee
Bacon.
and ketchup.
Bacon. Coffee and ketchup.
Yep. Coffee and ketchup, right?
Coffee and ketchup. Coffee, ketchup, and was it bacon? Bacon cheese brioche sandwiches.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Pete's
nice.
always comes, straight through with that breakfast sandwich. Cannot walk away from it, man.
Yeah.
It's actually always been a ritual every time we either go out for doing a vending event or like prepping for a mural.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the thing. We're like, all right, coffee, where are we going to go?
Right. Yeah.
Where are we going to go? What time we got? Let's do this right before everything.
Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us on our new video series of the podcast. We've tried to do the audio one, and now we're shifting over to the video portion. So you briefly mentioned it, with the different murals and different pop-up shows that you've done together. What would you say are, I guess, some of your early... I'm trying to think of the right phrasing. What would you say is kind of like your beginning of your individual art careers? Like, when did you first start kind of exploring these different realms? Like, and I guess a little bit more of like an overview of your career, like where you started and like where you two are at now, pretty much.
Yeah, I think for me, as far back as I can remember, early days, I just started doing a lot of just like scribbling on like paper or whatever I could find like in elementary. And it was, I was always the one kind of like drawing in the background or like drawing on my little like notebook or like my My Little Ponies folder. I definitely remember that because it was just like, I cherished it so much. And when I couldn't find it one day because it had my drawings in it, I started crying in my class.
No.
This is like in elementary. I was like, where's my Little Ponies folder? Because it has all my drawings and my homework. So
that's also important too.
So it was, I think it's pretty much like ever since elementary for me, I've always, just doodled. I had a lot of, anytime there was an artistic project, I think it was just me kind of going in and being like, what can I make from this? What can I make from, cardboard or stuff that I can find at home? My mom helped me with a lot of those projects, kind of like, okay, well, you could build a house out of this for your project for history or something like that with how people used to live back in the day. So there was, just a lot of that. But I think where it really started afterwards was middle school. And I did some of my first, like, I went to have like these art classes in middle school because I was like, I would sign up for those. I loved my art classes. And we would always try to get into, I guess, like these art competitions. So in Hawaii, where I'm originally from Oahu, we had these like junior duck stamp awards and stuff, we had like, I can't remember what it was called, but we had like this mural competition that was for the University of Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
And that was, I think, one of the biggest ones I had ever done at that time. I think I was in 7th grade. And it was a 2-story, like, big canvas banner.
Oh, wow.
And it started off with just like, a little art piece that was maybe, I want to say like a 8.5 by 11, and it got chosen for the finals. And then when the finals came, they're like, it was voted like, okay, we want this. And they're like, can you do a 2-story canvas? And I was like, I've never done anything that big before. You know, and I'm just like, how are we gonna do that? Luckily, I had my teacher at the time and I had my classmates that were like, yeah, let's do it. So it's still hanging up in the University of Hawaii.
Awesome.
And so it's kind of just like, oh man, I remember doing that when I was how old? I can't even remember at this point, 7th grade.
Right.
So, like really, really young. But I think that's where it really started off. And then from there was just doing a lot more drawing, taking a lot more classes, studying art. And then and then starting to move into, you know, like seeing what other people were doing out there. And I think that's where it really took off.
Oh, nice. What about yourself, man?
I too am from Hawaii. I'm actually from Maui.
Oh, uh-huh.
And so, you know, growing up on the islands, I mean, even take it further back, I grew up in Southern California when I was younger as well. Mm-hmm. And my mom, she's like my artsy crafty side. Yeah. And it got to a point where she couldn't keep up with me. Yeah. You know, in terms of like, stop drawing there, stop drawing on that. What are you doing? They would, you know, constantly come through with sketchbooks and like use this medium, use that medium. Oh, you don't have this, like, you know, see what you can make out of this and that. Yeah. And then it got to a point where they allowed me to evolve on my curiosity. Ah. So I started building with things outside of Lincoln Logs and started building with Legos and creating all these projects. And before you know it, like that creativity was just like, it was just burning everywhere. Yeah. And it got to a point where like, even as I grew older and got, you know, I got into high school, I was in Maui, and it got to a point where I was with, you know, my friends and everything. They always saw me in the books drawing. They always saw like a pencil in my hand or a pen in my hand and me quiet thinking off on ideas. And then it's like, oh, why is this guy quiet? I don't know. He's thinking again, you know? Yeah. But it's like, cause like I'm a very sociable person, but when it comes to being focused, it's like, what's the next design? Like, I started using my environments around me, you know, my cultures, my environments, any place that I went and visited or moved to, it was like some inspiration to get me to develop something, you know? Yeah. And then when I moved here to San Francisco area, Bay Area, how we met was through college, you know, and then through college, it was like, you know, just we were well known, you know, not only because we help run a print shop and a tech station, you know, and stuff within the college. But it was also the fact that like we were running a Hawaiian club as well at the time, you know, and it got to a point where like we helped, you know, get people to also develop on their folklore and culture and where they come from, you know. Right. And we had a setup in the lobby, you know, for the Hawaiian club where people could come in and, you know, visit and see, you know, where us as artists all, you know, started to learn and develop in our own, you know, not from the school, but inside the school, you know? Yeah. And it got to a point where I did up that triptych piece. Remember that triptych piece? Yep. So there was 3 canvases. Yeah. And I did up a giant stencil of all the landmarks in the Bay Area. Oh, nice. And so, and with the culture here in the Bay Area, people love these landmarks, you know, Golden Gate Bridge, Transamerica Building, Coit Tower, you know, people resonate with that. And it's very, you know, heartfelt, right? Yeah. And including sports and everything else. So I infused all that into this triptych piece that I did for the school. Turn around, they paid me for it. And I think for like 3 years, it was like used in like so many different projects. Oh, nice.
I think it was 3 years.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
A lot of people hit you up for it.
Yeah. And then they eventually like had mounted it outside the library. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice. and then all of a sudden it's like one piece would be gone or all three pieces would be gone. And it's because somebody was using it for a project and then they put it back up on the wall. Yeah. So it was like it's shifting back and forth, kind of like, you know, the technology stuff that we had that would rent out to the school. Yeah. But it got to a point where like, I mean, creativity has never been something that either me or her have lacked in. Both of us have totally been, you know, on that creative bound. Some people think it's like, what are you thinking of now? What are you guys designing now? Right. What's your next sticker? What's your next apparel design, you know? Yeah, it was just, there comes to a point where like we do have our moments of stopping to take a breather, but as artists, we're constantly just next idea, next mural, next painting, next sticker, you know, next design. Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that we had the camera. I'll do a zoom in later of all your amazing collection that we have here on the table here. So it definitely shows here with the planning and everything. You brought up with ever since you were in the 7th grade that you had the plan out from like a piece of paper to like a huge mural. How does that actually, what is the process of doing that where like you have something on this small napkin or sheet of paper and then you have to kind of transform transform it into this huge thing later?
You know, it's funny. Like I created like a new website for myself just to kind of like revamp things since, we've been in like the pandemic and stuff. And it was just kind of like time for a fresh coat of paint. One of the blogs, I'm actually still like working on writing. It's just like writing takes such a long time. You don't realize it is, what's the process of like, creation of a mural? How do you get it from in here to on here to up there?
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's really different for everyone, but for me, or at least like, me and Dan, for me and with technology, because we both work in tech, it's just like you have the most powerful thing at your fingertips is your phone.
Right.
And you go out someplace and you find inspiration, or somebody hits you up for a wall and you're like, oh, okay. And you're on site kind of like, okay, like let's take a picture of it. Let's get some measurements using the measurement app. How big is this wall actually going to be?
Yeah.
And that's just if you're lucky to even have access to this space. If you don't, it's kind of just like this person hits you up and you're like, yeah, I got maybe a 10-foot by some weird awkward number.
Right.
Let me imagine what that looks like.
You got to kind of estimate it and just take your best guess.
Yeah. I mean, I do like before like the iPad or anything like that. It was just, okay, well, it's going to be roughly this much on like paper or in my sketchbook, right? Roughly this long. And then just kind of like, just trying to figure out, okay, it's going to be this particular theme. How high is it going to go? And then it was like over time, it was mostly just like asking, what does the lighting in your place look like? What's around?
That's a good point. Yeah.
What kind of colors do you already have existing in the space? And I mean, like the color makes a lot of difference too. Depending on like what you're going to put on the wall. Because if it doesn't match, it just looks really funky. Unless that's what you're looking for.
It's like you have a dark green and then you're just going to put like a black in and it just blends in and you never
the aesthetic is so
I can't see the difference. But it's just it's before 4 times. It's just you have a colored pencil, you have a regular pencil, and you're like, maybe this color would work. But I got to blend these colors in to get that particular color. Now it's just like, let me take a picture with my iPad. Let me get on Procreate, superimpose that, lower the opacity. Let me figure out what that hex code is for that color. And then get it on there. So now that's actually the process that I go with. It's, anytime if it's like my mural or his mural, we go on site, or we ask the client, like all these questions, size,
what are they looking for?
What their keywords. He likes to ask like a lot of the keywords, like what are some that you use? Like when you ask the clients?
Sometimes I go with 3 things and I ask them, what's the color? What's the size and what's the shape that you're looking at? And a lot of people get thrown off by shape. And I say shape is important because if you're looking at a square wall, do you want to continuously have something square? Or do you want to change that symmetry? And look at it differently. A lot of people don't realize that when you throw, the 3 shapes that you think of first thing is triangle, circle, square. And I tell people, for instance, take time to look into your design. Do you want something circular on a flat wall? Is the wall obsolete? Like
especially at that size too.
Is it oblique to, like, is this corner cut off so we've only got this space? Or do you want something that's half designed out and then just like patterned across? Tell me your vision so that we can, apply what you're trying to do. So shape is definitely one that like kind of throws off people, but it also gives them something to play with mentally because they're like, oh, I didn't think about that. And so I'm like asking, somebody wanted a scene done up on their wall. Okay, cool. Do you know what kind of scene? They're like, I don't know. I just want a scene. I was like, okay. So is it a window? Like, are you looking in on something, even though it's just a wall? Like, how is this going to be applied? So that person hasn't got back to me yet, but it was them taking a moment to say, oh my gosh, like I'd never even thought about this. And it's like, you don't think about those basics, of, size, shape, color, stuff like that, until you really like start to think about what they want to envision on the wall.
I mean, I would also add, it's like, feeling What's the feeling you're going
the
for?
Emotion.
And I'm like, I'm going to shout out real quick over here because this is at Saucy Oakland. One of my favorite people to work with, just Jenny, Tony, Jay, and all of them over there. I did one of their first murals when they were still, I believe it was on Telegraph Avenue. And they just got their restaurant like started up, and they were like, Irie, can we hit you up for a mural? We finally got the space, and they've been doing like pop-ups, for like a while. And so when they finally got the space, it was super exciting because like they physically have a space now to create their different type of art, which is culinary. Yeah. So I was just automatically like, yes, let's do it. And the wall that they had was very kind of like awkward. It was like definitely raised off the ground. There was just like this lip that hung over, and then this other like space in the corner that was like, what are we gonna do with that? And then this very long wall. Yeah. So I had to find something that wasn't just like, oh, I'm gonna try to fill up the space, because it was a big wall just for myself. Right. And so I wanted to go something for like a very minimal aesthetic. Yeah. And lining up with my friend Jenny, who's one of the owners of the place too, is just kind of like, what are you looking for? What are you going to build this out to be? And they have just like this very nice like ambiance of like this warm color, dark metal, but also like plants, hanging down with the bricks. I was like, okay, nice. Okay, what kind of aesthetic can I go with? And so when we initially went with that one, it was a giant chrysanthemum that I did with a circular like teal background, because that was one of the colors from their menus. Nice. We thought that a really nice accent to like finish off everything was just this like really nice iridescent like bronze or gold for their logo. So we did that for their logo. Dan helped me with a lot of like the stenciling and just like getting him back on the wall, trying to like blend in colors. Oh my God. He was teaching me, I was doing a little bit of teaching on there, and it's, just kind of like that type of work that we do together. But going back to originally the process, it's just, if you have access to the wall or the space, try to go and see it. Feel what the wall is like, because that's really important too. Yeah. Especially if it's a nice brick wall, if it's plywood or like maybe some sort of like material you've never seen before. You want to make sure you get the right paint. It's like a slimy wall for no reason.
How is this gonna work?
Because you want to make sure the stuff that you're getting too is cost effective and right. Like when it finishes, you're like, oh crap, we didn't get the right paint. You don't want to have like that at the end and you're like, crap, we should have got like a glossy instead of a matte. Like it would have worked so much better or something like that. So it's like, through the experience of what we've had, both interior and exterior, it really depends. Like you got to look at every little detail. And when you're working with the client, it's even more important, because you want to make sure that you're delivering what it is that they're looking for, and also the agency they're giving you to be creative. So that's kind of like how I would say, as far as like the process goes, is really, you have an idea, you have the person you're working with, ask questions. Ask questions, color, shape, feeling, and size is really important. So.
I'll throw out a shout out to some of the Home Depot people that we talked to.
Home Depot?
Because
it's interesting because like a lot of our old classmates would be like, you guys still hang out? They'd always be like, you guys are still like hanging out, like doing stuff, or like,
How long have you known each other roughly? Like,
God, like what? It was 2006. So over 15? Over 15 years.
She's dealt with me for that long.
I remember the first, because I was one of the managers. Sorry, I put my hand right there with the mic. I was one of the managers for the print shop, and we called it the Cage at the time. So it was the equipment rental, for all of the digital film students. We had like expensive like cameras, tripods, all that stuff, lighting gear and equipment in their XLR cables and stuff. And then my manager, Ed, who's also a really good friend, he's like, so I hired another Hawaiian. And I was like, oh yeah? And he comes right around the corner, you know, and he's just like, choo! And I was like, I'm standing there, I was like, oh no, that's trouble. And now we've just like been stuck with each other for the last like 15 years, like doing our, because I don't know, I think it's just like, Dan talked about it a little bit earlier. And even for me, and I told him like, at this point, you know, with like my experience, it's like I don't trust anybody else to work with on these things, because we go out to like these sites and I'll just be like, you know, super early morning. I mean, the earliest one that we've gone to is probably like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that was at Saucy's new location.
Yeah. Oh no, that was earlier. I think we did at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. 2 a.m. 2 a.m. because of the time constraints that we had, and they were trying to do their reopening. So we were like, we got to get this done. Yeah, you know, and so it's like I couldn't do a 12-foot by 12-foot wall, and it was much bigger by myself, especially to get it done at such a short amount of time. We did it in 3 days, 14 hours each. Yeah. So. Yep. That was like, you know, by itself, like getting up super early in the morning, go out to pick him up. So that's one thing. How are you going to find like somebody who's willing to wake up that damn early in the morning and be like, yes, I will work with you on a mural because my creativity demands it. Right. You know, even like most people be like, no, I'll meet you at 10 a.m. Yeah. You know, but he's like, yeah, whatever you want, we'll go. And, and that's been the same thing with like, you know, when he wants something like done, I'm like, whenever you want it. Like, what is the design? When do you want to go? Do you want to do it early? Do you want to do it later? What are you thinking? And so, you know, that's just like been the chemistry that we have, which is why I always say like, I told him like, I can't do this without you. Yeah. You know? So it's also because it's like he's my muscle.
It's interesting though too, because you know, we do get asked like, when do you guys sleep? You know? Oh yeah. And there are times when I tell people, I'm like, oh, I don't. Like I close my eyes and then I'm awake again doing stuff, you know?
I close my eyes, but I'm awake.
Yeah.
Like what you see? Many of the studio items are made from local artists. Learn more about each artist in the episode description. Thanks again, and let's jump back into the episode.
So I definitely want to be respectful. I feel like we're definitely going to do another part because I feel like we've only scratched the surface. But I definitely want to make sure that I'm respectful of your guys' time and everything. So I guess based on this amazing conversation that we've been having, what I know this is probably like a hard question to ask because of so many projects that you've worked on. But I guess what has been some of your favorite projects, either individually or as a collaborative of that point over the last few years?
Do you want to go first? Since I always go first. You can go first, and then you can give me time after.
I'm laughing because earlier we talked about how we put down ideas on, you know, we doodle things out, notes, napkins and stuff like that. And the minute you said napkin, it was like, boom. Remember when we got an opportunity to do the mural in Jingletown. Mm-hmm. And
yes.
And she was like, so we just got to figure out what do we want. And at that time was a fight with Mauna Kea with the start of it. And the people were fighting because that is protective grounds back home. You know, if people are not familiar with it, Mauna Kea is on the Big Island. And Mauna Kea is one of the sacred grounds for the state of Hawaii, but for the people, for our culture, you know, of Hawaiians, of locals, everyone who's born and raised, believes, all that, you know? And it's also the grounds for our folklore, our mythology to people, you know? And bringing that forward, it's something that means something to us. Yeah. You know, home a pele, anti-pele, respects always, you know, but it's also home for our people, It's our ground roots, you know? And so she was saying, you know, let's bring something impactful, but what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Boom, we said Mauna Kea. I was like, okay, cool. Mind you, we was at a pizza place and we're sitting there, you know?
We went on a hike and then we had pizza, I think.
And then, yeah. And that's how we get our stuff going, you know? It's like, go out, go hike, get the ideas together, sit down, eat, think, you know? And at that moment, we were thinking, okay, Mauna Kea is a big thing. Let's do something for home. We're not home, but we always bring home with us. You know, it's in our culture, it's in our blood. Right. You know, it's in our cocoa. You know, so what happens is we're sitting there, we're eating, and then I think you were talking to Sage, right?
I don't remember. I was talking maybe to somebody.
Yeah,
I was talking to somebody.
And I was sitting there, and I was all like building something with the napkins. And then remember, that's how Mauna Kea came to be. Was like took the corner of the napkins, built like this silhouette of like how the mountains would look. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, pineapple in the background, you know? And it was just something that we laughed about, but it made sense to us. Right. And we were allowed to bring the kids together on this. Yeah. And so we set it all up. It's in Jingletown. It's still there. If people don't know what Jingletown is, it's actually in Fruitvale, you know? But it's what, a 32-foot pineapple? Yeah.
Pretty tall pineapple.
Yeah, with Mauna Kea sitting in the front, you know? And it's basically representing home. And no matter where we are, we will always fight for home. We always believe in home, but we always carry home with us. And so with that tall pineapple and Mauna Kea, it got to a point where people on the airplane coming in to Oakland could see the pineapple, could see the building, could see the mural. You know, and that meant a lot to us, because we was getting, you know, from social media, like, oh, represent, we seen him from the plane, you know, he's landing, this is awesome, you know? And then even the community around the Bay Area, people were taking photos, people were, you know, hashtagging us, you know, throwing us out there, saying that like, hey, respects, you know, we fight with you guys, we fight for, you know, Hawaii. And at that moment, like, we knew we made such an impact that we didn't think was going to resonate so large, you know, outside of ourselves. But it started to be impactful to everyone else around. And the thing about it is people started asking questions. What is Mauna Kea? Who is Mauna Kea? And we got to a point where we were saying, we are Mauna Kea, you know? And that's exactly how everybody else felt back home fighting. And still to this day, we still fight to make sure that there is no telescope to be put up there. Now, granted, they probably is trying to put it up, but if you got to think about it, this is history lessons. This is history lessons, because this is the 13th telescope that they're trying to put on sacred grounds. Think about that. It's not the first. It's the 13th. You know? So really look into, why is this a constant battle? But this is a constant fight that the people always keep pushing forward. And that's the one that's meaningful to me that I've done with her.
I definitely think that, you know, that was a really meaningful moment. It was also his first time teaching. So I was there for like emotional support and mentorship when we were bringing in, you know, the kids and the youth, and some of them who are still like actually doing a lot of creative like work even through the pandemic, which is really, really great. I think for me, it's not one particular project, so it's definitely hard to to kind of like pinpoint one. But I think if I recall, and it's mostly the feeling that I get from it was when we were still in FAM and we were doing a lot of like our events and getting like ourselves out there, and we were working at the time with Independent Brewing, which was that old Oakland, around Oakland?
It was like right outside
Jack London, right?
Right outside Jack London. Yeah.
So we were holding like some of our first gallery like events over there, and you could tell it was just like, you know, we were just like starting off because we were using pallets to hang up, you know, the artwork, and then we had like this whole outdoor space where we had to do like the barrels. We had to do a whole bunch of cleanup, and it was like starting to come together, because when we were in the collective, it was like a lot of artists, but we also had DJs in there. And so, you know, they brought like the fire with like the music and stuff. So those are like very humble beginnings of, you know, what we were doing. And then I think the culminating part of that was when we actually got to showcase at Minna Gallery.
I still don't forget that.
That was a crazy night.
That was good.
It was so crazy. It was getting there early enough and like getting everything set up. Granted, we were like working with everybody that was there. It was still kind of like hard because we were just like trying to make sure everything was like perfect. We're getting all the artwork set up. And then like our DJs were coming in. They brought the fire. They had all this lighting set up, and then they had their booth and then like for cameras and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good because I think we also did a live stream.
Oh,
too.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think I still have the video where like went outside.
Oh, and it was the line.
Yeah, and the line wasn't at the end of that corner. It was at the end of the block corner.
Oh, wow.
It was wrapped around.
Yeah. And even when we was POW at night, still had people outside.
Yeah, there were people still waiting
trying to
get
still
in.
come in.
Yeah. So we had a lot of supporters. We had a lot of new faces. Oh man, I can't remember who. There was somebody from the Warriors that dropped in that night too, and they were just like, I can't remember. I'm not too big into sports, but I remember because they were like, so and so is here, like just.
He came in like the last hour of it or something.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
But it was like the feeling that I remember from a lot of like the shows is just like the vibe, and it's like for me, it's always like even when I'm at work, like regularly, I'm like listening to music and there's a particular song that pops up.
Yeah.
I'm just like remembering like that night. And then it's this feeling of just like seeing in slow motion, like all these people, like, like dancing, pointing, like looking at the artwork and stuff, selfies with, selfies with people and whatnot. And that's kind of like, you kind of like miss those. And that wasn't too long ago. It was like right before the pandemic, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just like, I think those are the ones that like I value the most because it's also, me and Dan again, we were still in it. And we were just like, we got to do this, we got to do that. We got to get the pins out because we had like pins at the time.
We had pins at night too.
Yeah.
Actually, these 3 and 2 other ones were the first appearance of stickers that I started making.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And at that night too, people were asking me to have them in bulk. And I was like, I'll need Brad so many. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it was, he got into like the sticker game before me. And I was just like selling a lot of my artwork. And then I was like, okay, well, let me try, do stickers instead. Like, I'm just like playing around, but these are like some of the few, that I've done. And just like some other ones that I'm just like playing around with just to see like the different types of material that we can come up with.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know, like the art just like has kept us going through the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly too, I don't look for perfection. I look for progression.
Right.
What more can I do? I've never tried this before. Let me try this too, And as she was bringing up about stickers, none of us knew about stickers. We just knew that we can, buy them, purchase them.
Yeah, exactly.
Make them, But then it got to a point where I was all like, let me try this holographic sticker. Let me try this glow-in-the-dark sticker. Let me see how the people react to these stickers. And that night, like I sold out of all stickers that I had.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, he did really well on that.
Yeah. All stickers, I think it was 5 of them. I had 50 of them each.
They're all gone.
And they're all gone. And I sold them at $3 a piece.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And people were still collecting business cards to like, call in. Like, oh, when are you going to set up a shop so I can get these, Can I ask you for bulk? Can I have you, do up something for like a party favor for later, And I was just like, okay, I guess stickers are in.
Yeah. So we've been just trying to like create, and he's been exploring
the 3D printing.
The 3D printing. I have my sticker cutter. We're also looking. Well, I'm looking into Glowforge just to see, and maybe also getting like a 3D printer because I'm like I want to make cool stuff.
Exactly. It's exactly what you were touching on earlier, where it's just like when your mind starts going into different places, you always want to explore those different avenues and see like what it comes from.
Yeah.
I think that's probably also the thing when you were mentioning this seeing those flashbacks of like memorable events that mean so much to you, that in some ways you kind of see it like a montage or like a highlight reel in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's cool because you can kind of picture it in like those cinematic kind of cameras.
That's exactly how I picture them. Every time, like when I try to explain something, it's like a sizzle reel.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. That's the word. Yeah.
It's like I try to explain to somebody like, this is what I was feeling, you know, and stuff, and then you're like, oh, I wish you could see my brain. Because it's like playing like a movie in my brain.
Man, let me feed it to you. You know?
Yeah, here, download it.
I just picture like a little kid just holding an ice cream and it's like falling over, and all these candid memories.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Like we will definitely do this again because
for sure.
I think I only got to maybe 2 questions out of like, but
that usually works between us.
Yeah.
More than happy to come back. I mean, this is our first time, and we've been in talks since last year.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just kind of like, it's nice to finally like do this too, and like see the space, because before that you didn't. I don't think you had the space. No, right?
This is brand new, so hopefully we get to do it more often and just kind of sync up again. Did you guys have any plugs or shout outs that you want to give out to folks, or just kind of?
yeah, absolutely. So again, you know, just shouting out to Saucy Oakland, and all of our friends over there for what they've done, you know, for us, and what they've done for me, just in terms of like my career. I've worked with them for a really long time. Yeah. Doing some of the work for their menus, even way before they had a physical space. Right. For me, at the time, Dragon School, now 333 Arts, and just kind of like working with that nonprofit. And, you know, working with the community, and just like this guy, shout out to this guy who's always, he's always like my sounding board, you know, for a lot of stuff. And, you know, also shout out to my partner, because those two, you know, these two are just kind of like, I go for emotional support, coaching, inspirational, motivational speaking, and just kind of like encouraging me to continue to do, even when, you know, things might be feeling a little, in my day. So shout out to all of yous.
Biggest shout out is to my sister here. Because I'm the adventurous one who's always out and about doing something, whether it's 2 PM or 2 AM. You know? So she's always been supportive, and, you know, keeps me in line, keeps me in check, make sure that, you know, I'm staying focused, you know, but still having fun with life. You know? Shout out to, you know, my brother Kavai, you know, and his family, because he's also island brother. He's his family basically adopted me since I was like 15. You know, and so he was my big push to come over here. You know, do something more as the artist. You know, and he saw something in me that I didn't really see at the time. You know? And so, and him and his family been supportive all the way through. You know, definitely respects to Dragon School, you know, 333 Arts now. Sage, you know, giving us opportunities to go out there and flourish. Let us be creative. Let us just jump out there. I think he appreciates the fact that we just want to go and do it. You know? No questions asked except, what do you want us to do? You know, where and when, you know? So mahalo to him and, you know, the team for that. Definitely Saucy for giving us opportunities to be out there. It was fun doing the first one. Definitely I hit a moment in life where it was a little difficult, you know, but she brought me out there to jump on that mural, get back out there, painting art, you know, stuff like that. And then before you know it, you know, got more into the stenciling, built up on my QR game, you know, and a lot of people ask me, you know, QR code, you know, issues or opportunities or ideas. And it all started from that point on, you know. Definitely shout out to all my, you know, friends who I call, you know, family too, family itself, that just, you know, throw it out there, support, you know, take me up on everything that I've done to either throw out there for free or test or see how long this lasts. Does this work? What do you think? You know, whether it's a 3D print or a sticker or apparel or, you know, anything.
All the real ones.
You know, like support to all of them. But also too is just like, I give respect to the universe and the direction that it gives us and puts us out there. You know,
That's awesome.
And respects to you for letting us be here today.
Thank you.
Model, bro.
Shout out to Art of the Bay.
Yep, Art of the Bay, bro.
I think that's the perfect way to close this out, where I think we're just going to toast to support and communities in general.
Solid. Model, bro.
Well, thank you so much. And yeah, we will do this again soon. And thank you so much for tuning in. And we will see you next time.
If you enjoyed the fun chat, don't forget to subscribe. Audio versions of the podcast are also available on all popular podcast platforms. Links available in the episode description. Thanks again for listening.